Jerry Jerry
Alright, what's up my people, and welcome back to the SN95 Power Channel. We are furthering the wire tuck project, and we have a lot of stuff taken care of since the last video. So let's go over what's been accomplished so far. So right now, pretty much all the wiring that I need to have done up front is taken care of. So let's start with my main feed wire. Actually, let's go back to that. So let's start right here with my starter wire. Now, I originally had this fuse on the alternator. This is just a mega fuse. This is the alternator wire that I made. So this is, I believe, a 4-gauge wire. You know, a lot of people call that the big three when you upgrade your alternator wire, your main battery wire, and your ground wire. So technically I've done a big three wiring upgrade on this car also. So starter, this is fuse. I used to have the starter fuse on the wiper cover panel, but this little mega fuse that I was using for the alternator kind of fits good here. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm gonna break this line right here for the alternator and get another one of those fuses and put right here. So I'll go back to having a fuse on the alternator and the starter wire. So alternator wire, it snakes behind this ground bus and it goes up to my terminal block. Now the fuse block, we have another small 4-gauge wire going from our 12-volt terminal to the fuse block, and our wire to our battery. This is a 2-gauge wire, and I ran it through this little opening right here, which anytime you go through a opening in the chassis, firewall, wherever, you know, make sure you use a garment. So I have a garment on that. What else? I still have to do the headlights, but I was really just concentrating on this. So I did lengthen the wires for the alternator, the 2 wires. I think one is the Sense and one, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I extended those 2 wires. And only wire I have to extend under here now is just this AC compressor wire, but I'm not gonna be too concerned about that. Just going over the ground, I have the ground bus to chassis. I have the ground bus to, this is the engine harness. And where is this? Oh, and this third one right here is going to this fuse box ground pair. So I just have this pair to one 4-gauge wire. So all that's done. I'm real happy with the outcome of it. I gotta tuck this somehow. I think the best thing to do is move this behind this harness just to get up as high as possible. And this is just the starter solenoid wire, and I have that going up there. Now I've got some big zip ties I'm going to use to tie all this up and put a little bit more force on it going up. So all this is done back here. So now let's get started on the battery relocation. All right, up next, let's get this battery box out and figure out how we're gonna mount it. I know this is kind of how I want to mount it, but I don't know how big this is. So let's open it up and test fit it. So we got the lid, vent tube, mounting hardware. Stickers. It's not complete without stickers. So here's the other thing you have to think about. Do you want this box NHRA compliant or not? So let me jack the car up. Let me figure out where the fuel tank is, where the frame is, and we'll go from there. All right, so I want to mount the box, but before I do that, I'm going to get the battery where I want it. I want to get lined up in the box. So if I have it even on this side, then I know when it's in the inside, I'm going to have it even and centered. So I know I don't have a lot of room right here, so I'm going to lightly since this is not real thick metal, it's gonna cut through this fairly easy. Right there is where I started hitting something, so I'm gonna come up just a 1/4 inch, put my flag right there, and I know I'm good. So let me look underneath and see if I can see the pencil. All right, so now I'm gonna go underneath, and I want to put the nylon side of this on the bottom once I get the height to where I want it. All right, so the box is kind of in here. So I'm gonna have to cut the threaded rods down a little bit. I'm also gonna have to cut a groove for these caps right here. But now let's work on running my power wire. Let's think about how we want to mount this. I think I'll mount it right here. I'll have this wire wrap around to this, and from here right through there. This is a 250 amp circuit breaker, so I'll use that just because this battery wire is running so far through the car. It's going through the interior of the car, so if anything was to happen, it will kill it right here, you know, 3 inches away from the battery terminal, and from here all the way down to the 12-volt terminal that I have will be dead. I won't have to worry about anything potentially catching fire. So I have my circuit breaker hooked up. It's in the off position right now. It's on. Let's see if I can get this light to turn on. Can't get the light in the trunk to turn on. But interior lights. Hit this button and it disconnects. I have these two 12-volt source wires I need to run to the battery, so I'm gonna have to drill another hole. I'll have to find a garment to seal it. But yeah, that'll be my last couple of connections. This is the circuit breaker. Now the reason why I went to the top with this wire of the circuit breaker, because right now if something was to happen to this wire, it doesn't have this circuit breaker for protection. But I have this fuse box right here for that wire. This is for the fuel pump. So it gets your 12 volts from the battery, and it goes down to the relay to the positive wire on the fuel pump. So the big wire for the 12 volt fuse panel is this one right here. It runs inside. This wire is for my MSD. So if something was to happen with the MSD, it's on the other side of the circuit breaker, so it's isolated whenever the circuit breaker is tripped. So if I want to enable the circuit breaker, I just flick that in. It has power flowing to both posts. If I want to disconnect power, just press that. The power is disconnected. So I'm going to finish cleaning this up at another time, but right now I just want to get the car started and make sure everything is working properly before I go and mount everything down. So let's go start the car. All right, we got the wire tuck done. Let's go ahead and fire this baby up. All right, fuel pump is priming. Gauges work. Oh man, motherfucker.